this is our seventh session, and next week we'll have our last one as well. And as today, since we're not going to be many people, I'd like to build it up as everybody can unmute themselves if they like and have really more of a little group discussion. And we can talk about either the topics that were on this week's session. But as I wanted to mention to you, if you don't follow the curriculum week per week, it's really okay, because the idea is also to participate in the conversation, to discover new topics, to ask questions, to share your experience as well. So if we're not following the curriculum, it's also okay. The curriculum is to give you a foundation to not be overwhelmed and get lost within all the information of crypto. But if we want to touch base on a few topics today, since we're less people, we can really just dive into it, or everybody can share their insights. So to break the ice, I am going to ask one question, and I would really love everybody to chip in into it. And this is really like a personal question of your perspective of blockchain and crypto. There's no right or wrong answer. It's really how we all perceive blockchain and crypto. So my question to all of you is, what are, in your point of view, 3 major breakthroughs of blockchain and crypto? So 3 points that blockchain and crypto are bringing to the world as breakthroughs: technological breakthroughs, social breakthroughs, economical breakthroughs. The mic is yours.
I can start, as always.
Thank you, Olga.
So for me, it is definitely this immutability, then trustless, and you said 3, no?
Mm-hmm.
Trustless and that truly almost each person could use it only with one iPhone or a smartphone. Yeah, this would be the 3 from my side.
Fantastic.
Was it right direction?
There's no right or wrong direction. It's really your personal perspective of blockchain and crypto and what you think it is doing to the world. And it can be, like I said, social, creative,
I know one.
Economical.
Can I say the 4th one?
Go for it.
So, and if we speak about crypto, is definitely the inflation. So, you know what I mean? So with a normal fiat money, inflation is almost higher, all the time higher. And with crypto, we can save the value.
That's a good point.
I'm done.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? I can do it, but I can talk with the whole hour, so that's not the point here.
I've only got two, but I'll probably get to the 3rd one. I said my first 2. First one is equality. So it has the potential to equal everybody out on the planet. Potentially. We are so far away from that, but the potential is definitely there. Control of data, finances, destiny, like that to me. So that goes hand in hand with the equality. It really does give back that element of I'm in charge and I know where I'm going. I've got some choices. So
don't get it.
What's that? Sorry, Olga? About the choices.
Don't understand.
So if you're on the end of, I thought yesterday's conversation with Genevieve about the farmers.
Yeah.
As an example. So there you've got a farmer, like somewhere out in the other part of the world, and he's got some choices and he's got some control and he's got some data. He's owning his own data, and he's starting to get more in charge of his business and how he earns his money and how he lives his life, because he's actually been given the opportunity to be collaborating with somebody who's giving him a system, as an example. And then, so it's that control and understanding the data. So it just gives him freedom to decide what he wants to do, rather than actually he's there, you know, in a plantation, and he's just being, you know, here you go, here's 2 cents a mango or what have you. You know, that's your
avocado.
Egg. Oh, was it avocado? Thank you very much. Avocado, wonderful. And just, you know, to me, that's sort of like really empowering for people. So those are my two. Can't think of a third at the moment.
That's okay. When you say control, could we in the end say more greater access to economy, ownership of your own economy?
Yes.
Because I don't think his choices had increased. I think he was in a better position. He got more value for his products, but did he necessarily have? Is Troy?
I think so. Yeah, I do. I genuinely thought, yeah. Choices was a word that she used a lot, which I loved, by the way, throughout her whole speech. When you have information, so this is my map of the world. When you have information that you didn't have yesterday or the day before, you can then go, do you know what? This is new information. I can then make a choice of what I want to do, how I, you know, it's more of an education to be able to start to work out, actually, I am, what has been happening to me. I couldn't ever do anything about it. Somebody's given me a system that actually enables me. And then that's actually, I think that's empowering for him as a business person. Then obviously he's raising up his intelligence level of how he can use technology, bearing in mind he probably has used, you know, tractors and all sorts of different technology, but this is a different type of technology. So that's what I'm saying. It does, for me, it gives him choices.
But he actually really need to want, to educate, to learn it, to understand it. No? But okay, understood. You mean this is the chance what I have, no? And yes, normally you don't have it.
Yeah.
Opportunity. Okay.
Yeah. So if somebody gives me something today that I didn't have yesterday, which is about a pathway that opens my mind to a possibility of an opportunity, I can then decide, do I want to do this or do I want to follow this pathway? That's the choice.
Yeah.
There's always a choice. You can participate in it or you can not participate in it. But the idea of control is very much so. It is basically user autonomy. It's bringing back consumers to their data and their finance.
Yeah, it's a better word.
Autonomy.
Sorry?
Autonomy.
Yes.
Autonomy, to be autonomous and have more control, more independence, more direct choice upon their actions, their data and economical actions, which is one, at least for me, one of the biggest breakthroughs from blockchain and crypto. Does anybody else would like to share 3 breakthroughs that they think is important regarding blockchain and crypto?
I do.
By all means.
Okay. Complementing what already has been said, I say that the detachment between power and money with the decentralization create a different aspect of the distributed power and distributed value. So the value goes out of money and goes to the border. So when you have the power to choose, or the autonomy, as you mentioned, this create a distributed system that changes the focus of control from money to value. So and technology is an enabler of that. So we were dependent until here. We were dependent on a trustful relationship based on money. Everyone that has money has control, has power, and then you must trust them to make something happen. So if you don't have money, nothing happens. With the decentralization, you can put your value through your choices and preserve that along the chain. So when they have that QR code on the mango, that is the choice. So I'm proving this is mine, and I'm starting the value chain with my decision to participate in the chain, and I'm part of it. So nobody will take this from me, and this will be preserved along the chain. So the control is in my choice and my decision, and not in somebody that has the money to control it. For me, there are some gaps yet, because when you go to the field, and I've been there in Costa Rica, talking to banana planters, banana farmers, about how we can bring technology to make them live better. And they just could not realize what that could mean. It was 5 years ago. Maybe today we have another opportunity with more technology, more smartphones, they are more enabled to do that. But there is a gap between the perception they have of how powerful each one of them are at the edge, with the enablement that this new technology brings to them. And there is a gap to teach them the difference between their social behavior today. How there was an expression, one of the reading that yesterday I loved, that is self-sovereignty. So yeah. you are sovereign. So you are owner of your life, your choices. So your value is yours. And if you can help to create a system where you are one of the owners, the more owners we have, the better the system gets. And this is how open source software grew up and established worldwide. So here we are, based all on open source. So I think that this aspects for me was the one that called my attention, and the thing that the value is the incentive to be part of. So if I see how I can create value, I would like to be in. If not, I'm out. And then the system will, only the good things or the efficient things, based on the consensus of the system, will be preserved, will grow on that.
So, Mac, how does that change the behavior of the banana grower?
I will use what Genevieve said yesterday. I was in the same situation that she is today, 6 years ago, talking to the banana planters. And what they said to me is that I don't care what we do better, because the large farmers will always control everything, because they have the money. They have 70 farms all over Central America, and I'm a little guy, and I will depend on the cooperative of small farmers to get the minimum price and make some money to make for my living, and that's it. So they were like satisfied with that, but not happy. They could do more, they could sell better, they could have better pricing, but they were oppressed by the money that were under control of the large producers. When we put everybody on the same chain, everybody has a vote on this. So it's your decision how many bananas you have to put into the chain. And each banana you put there, it's a choice. And then you were ruling together.
Oh.
It was at the end of the time. Yeah, we lost the question. That how Genevieve would see the participation of the large producers on the chain that they are creating in Haiti. I would love to hear this from her, because I think that there's a more democratical way to put the small producers and the large producers together on a system where the large producers can make what they do better, which is they have money, they have systems, they have IT guys, they have things that they can collaborate more with creating infrastructure. And the small guys, no, the small producers will be just users, but it's a user on a level of control of the technology that is much higher than today. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm totally convinced. I think it's definitely improved the situation for the small farmer, but I don't see it. I don't see how it's changed it so dramatically. He's definitely in a better position, and
yeah,
he's getting a higher margin, but same with Julie's comment, I don't see his choices. Either he grows bananas for a higher return or he doesn't.
One big
thing about education though, also, whilst this is going on simultaneously, because say he starts on January the 1st, as an example, and somebody comes with him with an opportunity to say, do you want to participate in this? And actually by the February the 1st, he's actually become more efficient. He can see efficiency in his small, whatever he's doing, just a small bit of efficiency. And then somebody's showing him, they're not telling him, they're showing him, and he's feeling that. And that is an engagement which he hasn't had before. So out of that trust element, that feeling that he's getting is actually, I didn't believe it and I didn't trust you and I didn't know if it could work, but actually blow me down. I've got another amount of money in my bank account from doing something. Maybe, so there's hope there, because I think that's what human beings would like to so it's a development that will go over time. And by the time you get to November and December in that same year, I think you will get a behavior change, but it certainly won't come within the first 90 days, because I think that trust element is a long-term thing. And so you just got to talk the language of the farmer. No point in talking the language of anybody else apart from the farmer. What language does he want? What's important to him? And how could you, by him not losing anything, because if he doesn't lose anything, this is just in addition to what he's already doing, and he's got nothing to lose. It's not going to jeopardize his own, he to trial it. So it is a development. It's a human development of how do you get somebody from over here to over there, and it's always the same thing, using technology, whether you're talking about a farmer or organizations or.
Absolutely. With this in mind, there's one thing, just to take it a step back a little bit. We're getting really into the detail of it, which is good, but taking it a step back, the technology is still new. There's a big threshold of onboarding people with the technology, and different profiles have a better acclimatization to onboarding a technology, and also, is it applicable to every industry? And that's the thing, it is not necessarily applicable to every industry, or as mentioned, it is a choice to utilize it for your enterprise, for your endeavor, for your industry. But it isn't to be used on everything at all time necessarily. And then if you're a farmer, maybe you have never had access to technology it's quite raw technology still at this point in time. It's changing right now, but we're still talking about very raw tech, which that threshold is difficult to be able to bring in. But a big idea that I see that we're talking about here is also the idea of trust. And the idea of trust is co-optation, which is cooperation between companies, between people, to be able to enable growth. Instead of competing with each other, how do we work together to elevate this industry, to elevate one another? What can I do? Instead of looking at my competitor, for example, that's building on another blockchain, okay, how can we work together? Because that is going to create a bridge, a horizontal line, and we're going to be able to answer the questions or the friction of our users. And that was one of the topics that came out also during this talk right now, is that trust level. The trust level is how and who you work with, very much so. And the pairs that we make and that build up are the ones that are going to help us answer those questions and bring people and give them maybe more choices exactly than one or two, and be able to acclimate themselves to blockchain and crypto. By all means, Olga, thank you. So instead of looking at collaboration between business competitors in the hope of a mutually beneficial result, this is the idea of the farmers with a hard tech industry potential player. It's not to be the one that controls on top of the farmer, is to be able to, hey, let's solve this together for your industry and see how we can work together, and give you, for example, more access to more funds, more ownership, more visibility to your farm, and us on the hard tech understand the questions of your industry and the onboarding of other professionals as yourself. That's a big thing that I saw within blockchain and crypto that I hadn't necessarily seen very much so in other industries before this technology coming on board, is the need of actually working together even more deeply to be able to elevate and solve issues. And these issues are socio-economical issues all around the globe. They just are different depending on your region. But there's really a desire for democratic features so everybody can have a say in the technology. And I think that's something quite beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, this is the furthest that anybody's gone. If we think about any technology that's gone into organizations or anything at all, it's always failed when there's been no collaboration with the end user. Always failed. So I've been in projects on the other side where people have spent millions, billions. It doesn't work. So it's not the technology, it's about the actual how you implement it, and part of that implementation is to get around the table with the user. And so to me, the farmer is the end user. It's just actually on his doorstep now. It's really accessible to him to be able to control, have autonomy, to have choices of his own destiny. So it's just another level down.
But not just that, the farmer is not only the end user, the farmer is also, by being, let's say, onboarded onto the blockchain, is also becoming a node validator.
Sure.
They're becoming a participant in the functioning of the blockchain by itself. So that's the idea of blockchain, is that we are all end users, but we're also all validators of the functioning of the network.
Sure, got you.
Yeah, something came to my mind. First of all, just to remark, I don't agree with the name blockchain. I think that the name is wrong. It's not a chain. It's a network. It's a mesh network. It's everybody connected to everybody. It's not a chain. The way we deal with chains, we call it value chain because it's a set of rounded things that are connected one to another. If you break one, the chain is over. And it's not a chain. It's a big network that will survive if everybody validates. So closing my remark on that.
No, it's a good remark. I agree with you. I had actually a talk specifically about this yesterday with an educator in blockchain, and he was telling me, the term is not wrong. It's a technological term. The problem that came out of that term is the visuals made by people regarding blockchain, representing
that sends us back
as
to
a
the old
chain of
things.
block. But it isn't. It's the visual that we created, because us humans are visuals. We need to see something to hold on to it, to grasp it, or else it doesn't work and it's abstract. But the visuals are wrong.
And this is very important. Julie said something very important. We are learning a lot of things every day, especially here. And learning is basically at the bottom line, behavior change. If you don't change your behavior, you didn't learn anything. So we are learning, changing our behavior. To change the behavior, we need to change everything in our environment. If we see the same things, read the same things, go to the same conclusions, no change. We need to change the visuals, the messaging, everything that is around. So looking to the farmer, the very raw farmer that let's say, get the milk out of the cow and go to the city and sell that milk to the cooperative. This guy is tied to a value chain where he's one of it. He's the start of it, but his price is, let's say, $1 here, and the milk is sold at the market by $5. So there is a lot of man in the middle here that controls the pricing structure until the milk gets there. There's a lot of value added on top of it too. So everyone should be able to take value out of it. That's okay. That's the capitalism. But the way we're talking about capitalism here, I love the term shareholder versus stakeholder capitalism, where if you have a stakeholder capitalism where the farmer is one of the group, not the chain, one of the mesh. So the chain would never exist if there was nobody there taking care of the call. So he's the beginner, but he's not alone. He needs everybody, and everybody needs him. So it's not a linear thing. It's something that is distributed, and the value is distributed. And the more people we have, the more value we have for the whole, because it's an exponential effect of the network growing. This is how
Absolutely.
I see it. And it's in the you mentioned it. The farmer is not a user. He's a player. He's a node. He's a node of the network. He's somebody that, think of an IT network, a computer network. You have two types of things doing on an IT network. You have the node that processes something, that does the math, does the calculation, and the node that transmit and receive information. Two things, two functions: process, communicate. That's it. Each one of us is a node of a network. On a blockchain, each component is a node of this network that is processing data, validating, staking, or whatever, and sending and receiving information. It's the same technological concept. Apply it to a network of people creating value to each other. So if you look this way, doesn't make any difference. The farmer, the owner of the cooperative, the owner of the grocery store, the owner of the truck that got the milk from the farm to the market, everybody's a node that can process and communicate and create value to the whole system. So, and if you're not satisfied, create your own system, go get another group, create another chain, and then we're done. Yesterday I participated for 15 minutes on a session of a group of kids on a community college in New York, talking about how to use Polygon to create an NFT system from scratch, coding online, 15, 16-year-old guys.
Yeah.
Kids.
Everybody can be a participant.
Talking the language of grown-up IT people all over the world. So no difference, no users, no masters anymore. It's everybody flat. So using that towers and square paradigm, it seems that the world becomes a large square. There are no towers anymore, no powers centralized anymore. It seems that we are going into that directions. The towers will resist.
In 2016, 17, when I came into blockchain and crypto, the one big thing that really attracted me was the idea of no frontier between people, that everybody can be connected with one another, and there's none of this geopolitical frontiers and connectivity between people, bringing back an altruistic vision between human exchange. So interactions between human, and at the same time bringing an independency towards your own finances and ID. And ID, when I say ID, I mean, let's say your passport, your driving license, your data, your personal data of who you are as a person, giving you that position to be able to get an ID and to get money, for considering in countries where they're very much controlled by the government and they cannot leave the country, they cannot escape the country, because you need to have X amount of money to actually get the paper that say that you are who you are. But in the end, you are here, you are who you are. So why you do not have access to that? And I thought that was a very interesting facets that blockchain was offering to people, to be able to move around and connect and make money and get their identification as a human being simply because we are here. That was my first point that attracted me to blockchain. Then, wormholed into it, and there's so many other facets to it, but that was the initial trigger to me, where I was like, okay, this is interesting. I was doing public affairs and public policy before, so that aspect came and got me interested, and then I just went full on crypto.
Very good, very good. So what will the big tech companies do with that? So how will they be part of this?
The big techs are already part of it. The big techs, so blockchain is, it's not just about you have different type of chains and different types of network. You have private blockchains, you have public blockchains, you have both of them just for different usage and entities. And big tech is already on the blockchain. Big tech is already in the metaverse. And now they're finding ways, because it's either, just like banks, they refuse and they try to close the door and they try to keep the control of the data of what they're doing, but they're losing their users. They're not actually interacting with their users anymore. So they have to acclimate. They have to change their behavior so that they don't lose their foothold in the ecosystem, in the industry, and with their users. It's adaptability. If there's no adaptability, there's no change.
My question is, we are going to a stakeholder capitalism. What the role companies like Google, Apple, Facebook will play on the stakeholder environment? Are they
it is still a money game.
Are they going to afford to become as a stakeholder, or are they going to keep being the shareholders of the world?
Well, that's a big question where we can all have very different response to.
So you have I mentioned 3 companies here that is larger than a lot of countries in the world. So how governments and big techs will evolve with this stakeholder relationship, and blockchain is a very good enabler that put the trust outside of the table. So trust is in the protocol. No, we don't have to worry about trust anymore. So trust is in the protocol. Everybody agrees with that. So we have a consensus here on a tool to create a different way of relationship between them. I'm curious to see how they're going to evolve their mindset and their business model primarily to be part of this new world, because there is a ton of changes coming.
Susan, by all means.
So I think that the way they're going to do it is the way they always do it, by making it convenient to use them. And most people would rather have the convenience than go to the trouble of figuring out how to do it for themselves. And they will assume most of the population, like they always have. We're seeing that with the centralized exchanges already. And we're going to see that with the metaverses. We're going to see it with everything, where it's just going to be, it's easier if you work with us, and we'll take care of you, and we'll do it for you, and it'll all be done, and you'll be good. And only the people that want freedom will find it, because you have to work for it and you have to hang on to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The same way that the banks are doing with the crypto, and the central banks and the tech companies were at the end of the slides yesterday. You saw Corda, Google, and Azure, and they were there. You're participating in that.
I think
is that seen as a failing, though, if you use an intermediary?
No, I think the benefit of that, actually, I think the benefit of blockchain is that for the first time, you actually have the choice. You can choose convenience, and you can also choose personal responsibility and freedom. In the past, you didn't have a choice. You had to do what everybody else was doing, because that was the only thing that was there. Freedom meant that you were fringe, like you had nothing. You lived on the street because you didn't buy into the system. But now you have a choice.
I imagine in the future you come to the customs in a country and you have the choice to show your passport or to show your ID. I am who I am. And this is my digital ID that I created. I'm part of a chain, or not. I use the passport that is acknowledged by that government.
That's the potential failure. If the governments retain the kind of control they've always had, then the ID will never get recognized. And this is the risk, that it's a great idea, but they can wait us out. It's like going to court with the big boy. They'll just, they just keep you in court till you're out of money.
That is a scheme that happens often. So that's a ground to play carefully between the different types of endeavors. I think that's why it's also good to bring in big tech in the new technology, to be able to have that blue chip stamp, to be able to evolve. But it's a thin line between both parties, and it's a difficult where you don't want to lose again the monopoly and have the monopoly given to only top 4, top 6, and keep also the network where everybody can chip in. So that's where blockchain is working around and working with at the same time. This was a really good session. Any last remark, and we're gonna close it off?
I just think the word philosophy is a good word to use rather than the technology, because I think the Web3 philosophy is the overarching bit of the behavioral aspects and the technological aspects. So for me, it's, if we can maintain as much of philosophy, that we think we want to do, because like you said, it's the choice that you've got and the freedom, then I think that's, for me, then it's up to us, actually.
Absolutely. Thank you. Very well said. Well, thank you to everybody that came today and adapted to the schedule as well. Next week, we'll revert back to the same schedule and we'll have maybe a longer session because it is the last one. And I really do wish that you all have a very nice week, and I'll see you all next week.
Thanks,
Good
Bob.
time in Denver.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.